Have you lost your job? Have you lost a loved one? Are you exhausted caring for your parents, for your kids? Well, you can find immediate relief when you read Sheila Mac's new #1 bestseller, Bootstraps and Bra Straps. It contains the Boots formula to move from rock bottom back into action in any situation, especially right now. If life has knocked you down, pick yourself up with Bootstraps and Bra Straps. Get your copy at www.sheilamac.com today.
Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's
Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and today we have special guest ERIN Mac. ERIN is a thought leader, coach, mentor, and guide that teaches people how to create impenetrable joy in their life so that they can be calm, have peace of mind, and meaning in their life now. There were 3 defining moments in her life, and she's going to share more about that on this show. And she has been an entrepreneur for 21 years and consulting business and business leaders for 16 years and specialized in impenetrable joy for the last 4 years. All right. Welcome to the show, ERIN.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Thank you. And, this show actually came about based on my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. I wrote it right before the pandemic, and we have had situations I couldn't even fathom before this time. So I like to start off with asking if you have a story to share with the audience about a time in your business or personal life where you experienced a tough situation and how you got back on track.
Oh my gosh. So many, right? When you're an entrepreneur, it just feels like every day can feel like something that you're getting over. But I would say about 10 years into a business I created around the year 2000, I recognized not so subtly that I needed to start doing something different. And it started with a client calling to complain. And when clients would call and complain, I would get frantic. And, so I, rushed into action, and I raced over to my friend's house to drop my daughter off. And I backed into her driveway and I sideswiped my van on her husband's truck. And as it turns out, I found out hours later when I came back that he was under the truck working on it, and he thought it was going to land on him.
Oh.
And that was the rude awakening I needed to start looking into self-development so that I could figure out a different way to go through life. Because as I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they have that experience of frantic, stressed, overwhelmed, worried, have anxiety on a day-to-day basis because of, all the responsibilities and all the moving parts. And that definitely was my experience. And so from there, I sort of dived into self-development, started going to seminars and reading books. And I did start to move the needle a bit. I started to realize that I could actually dictate the kind of clientele that I wanted to attract, that I could make some subtle changes to make my staff happier, that I could do things, little things to, not have the day-to-day customer service issues that were going on prior to that. And I did start to see the needle move in the right direction. it took another sort of crisis for it to move even further and to get where I'm at today.
Mm, so interesting. And that's something that shows up every time I ask this question. It's when we're going in a direction that's not in alignment that we tend to get little like a nudge. And then it's kind of like a push. And then it might be like a universal slap. And then it's like, okay, I'm there's a message here. And then we need to listen. And it's things show up that are even better than we imagined.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's almost like surrendering to what the alignment we need to be, the road we need to be on, and surrendering to that may not look like or sound like what everybody told us it's supposed to be. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think that theme, it's so crazy because that's exactly what's been going on for myself and my new business for the last year is this idea of trusting and letting go,
mhm,
right? Trusting that everything's going to work out because really up until now it has, right? Still here,
right.
still breathing, all the things. Uh, but it can feel a bit like a free fall for a while. And navigating that, I know just me personally over the last year and a half, has been the key to success for me. My business has quadrupled in the last year because I just decided I was no longer going to provide service in a way that wasn't in alignment. I was no longer going to keep, prior to this, I was a business coach and I helped entrepreneurs and people in leadership positions do some very linear things. And it wasn't my heart song. And I needed to do something. I needed to do what was. And so shifting and helping people with, the things that I had experience with, which were anxiety and overwhelm and stress on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis, helping them with strategies and how to begin the new practice of their new way of being so that they can experience their life in a way that was meaningful now and have purpose now instead of waiting until, I retire, then I can go do all the things, or, until I have amassed this much money or these amount of things. And so that's been, for me, it's just been this trust and let go, and just kind of the mantra that's been going through my mind. And even in this last week, it's a lot of what I've been talking about with clients and going in my own life, because we're all a work in progress all the time. There's no like the end is the end and we're not there yet, thankfully.
Yes, that's so true. And there's something to rebooting your computer, reboots in life. And this last couple days, something crazy happened for me. My entire website got blown up and disappeared. They were doing a migration and it migrated to the field. Awesome.
To the matrix.
And my team, I have a nice little team of people that work with me that I love dearly. And they were just expecting me to overreact or be upset. And I said, it's really weird. I feel so incredibly peaceful.
Nice.
And my mantra this week was, and the universe conspires for our highest and best good. Yes. And I'm going with that. And it's on the mend. So it is getting put back together again and the attention it needs. But that's it. And they were shocked because, it's like a car, what I spent to do it all. And then I had to take over. I mean, this is a whole long story, but it needed a refresh. It needed a reinvention. It needed a reboot. And I'm enjoying like all the new things we're adding and the creativity we're putting into it. And so that's it. It's how we respond a lot of the times. It affects like the whole team changed. They weren't like, oh man, this was a fail, made this terrible thing, whatever. It happened, it just happened. And maybe it was supposed to happen. So
yeah, I think, that's the thing is what I help people do is change the experience. Because that I can help do. I can't change the outcomes. I can't make people show up how you want and say all the right things and do all the right things. But what I can teach is, how do I decide how I'm going to be? And that's an internal journey that has nothing to do with all the things that, society and everybody would have you believe. It has to do with recognizing that we are really powerful. And when we can empower ourselves to take responsibility for what we're creating in our lives, then we don't have to be beholden to people or circumstances to show up how we need. We get to just decide moment by moment,
Yeah.
much like when you have an addiction and you say, enough, I'm not going to do this anymore. You have to decide moment by moment sometimes. Oh, that's right. I'm not choosing anger today. I'm choosing peace or calm or, like you did, and it is a choice. It doesn't feel like it, but it is. It's available at all times.
Right. And the funny thing is, it's who owns who or what or whatever. But
Yeah.
that situation own my feelings and my emotions and my happiness today, whatever, the computer thing, the website thing, or XYZ, does it own me, or am I in charge of me? And I'm empowering myself when I don't do the blaming, or, okay, that person may need help, or maybe they're not, aligned with me and they don't get to be in my sphere anymore, whatever, but that's all good. It's nothing personal, but it's not, if I give that power, then they still own me, whether it's a bad relationship or abuse you left, or some situation that was a wrongdoing. You might think, if we're holding that anger, hate, whatever it is, then we're stuck. They still own us. They own our happiness right now in this moment. That's what I feel.
100%. Yes. And I think, I like to always clear up this idea that, things like stress or anxiety, worry, depression, whatever you're feeling, that they are not situational. Most people think, oh, this person is stressing me out, or this thing is stressing me out. Actually, that lives inside of you, and that person is giving you the gift of looking at that and going, like, what's going on with me that I'm angry right now, or that my voice is raised, or that I'm frantic or stressed out or overwhelmed? Like, what's going on with me? Because it's not that person. And how you know it's not that person is you can ask somebody next to you, like, is that making you angry? And they're like, no.
Right.
And so that's how you know it's yours. You get to own that. But from that, that's the gift. The gift is those emotions are teaching you where healing and growth can happen. And that's what I believe we're here to do, is to heal and grow and to morph into the best version of ourselves.
Yes. Yes. So now, how would you suggest we apply your technique to the situation we're in globally right now? As far as there's so much stress and anxiety. I mean, I limit my news. I'm really cautious about what I let in and what I focus on, but I have to remember to retrain myself a lot. Somebody will come up with this and that happened. Oh my gosh. And my brain, I'll have to be like, no, I can't live there, because it's not going to change a darn thing. This show, I hope, is changing things, bringing positivity back into the planet, and things like, I feel like doing something, bringing something is just easier than worrying about it. But what else can we do? Because there are times when you could listen to the news and get really overwhelmed.
Well, so what I want you to check into is, if you're overreacting to something, let's just take the topic of the day.
Yes.
Vaccinated, not vaccinated, right? That's a neutral topic for me.
Right.
For most people, it is not neutral. They stand on one side or the other. So I want you to check in when you are adamant that you are correct about something, and that you're being right about that trumps everybody else's feelings, knowledge, whatever. That's a place to look for healing and growth, because I don't know about you, but I don't want to be responsible for the billions of people in the world. Do I know what's the right answer for each person individually? Absolutely not. And it's ludicrous to think that I would. The media, however, would like you to take a side so that they can get on with business as usual. And so there's definitely a campaign going on. And so I would just say, anytime, not just this topic, but all topics, when you get fired up and you're absolutely sure you're right, I just want to tell you, you're not. Because you couldn't possibly know what is right for each individual. And so what's happening with the news is, it used to be, I don't know how old you are, but I know when I was growing up, the news was neutral. It was informational. It wasn't politicized. It wasn't right, left. It wasn't any of those things. It was, this is the story. And the other piece of that was, it had to be verified. You couldn't just randomly talk about whatever and then retract.
Right.
It was, verified and all the things. And so it's just become a different sort of world out there, and it's fine. We just have to navigate it in a way that feels good to us.
Yes.
I'll be honest with you. I haven't watched the news in, I think I've watched it once in maybe the last decade.
Beautiful.
And that was a conscious choice.
Even through all this, that's like, I haven't either for like 34 years. I don't even have TV in my house.
Nice.
But now I have my grown kids. A couple of them are home. I have 6. I adopted 3. So there's this big family. So a couple of are home because of the schools closing, the dorms, and they watch it. And so I might be like walking through the room and whoops, there it is. Please stop. But, so that's it. It has. And I said, we have to have a vacation from the news. Sometimes I'll do that. I'll be like, I just can't right now. Because I'll go there emotionally with all the people.
Yeah, and that's the intent, is they want you to, right?
Right.
It's sensationalized, it's fear-based. And I noticed that I was having a visceral reaction to the news. It took me a while to figure it out, because I used to watch it every night. I put my daughter to bed, then I would sit down and watch the news. And I was very into politics, and I realized that I was just feeling really down and angry and upset like every night, and I couldn't figure it out. And I whittled it down to, it had to be the news, because as soon as I stopped watching it, I didn't have that experience. Yes. And so, for all of those people out there that are struggling with this idea that, it's irresponsible not to know what's going on, I would just say, you get bits and pieces. Like, people tell me stuff all the time, and they say, this thing, and I say, no, actually, I don't watch the news. And then they tell me, whatever the story is. And if it's something that I'm interested in, then I'll go and research it on my own. If it's not, then I won't. And I would just say, if you think it's irresponsible not to watch the news, why? Like, what is it that, like, I'm totally at peace and have stillness in my life and am in joy almost predominantly, and I don't watch the news. That's not going to change. Now I can actually watch it. I have watched it once or twice in the last 10 years, and it was fine. I didn't have any reaction to it. I just thought it was interesting. It felt like it was like a movie or something,
It's different. Yes, it really is. So that's important. If you are watching the news, that's an energy coming in. Definitely. If you believe in that, or a vibration, or a frequency. It's a airwave frequency coming into your home.
And there's real intent behind it.
Yes. And so what can you put in your home as a frequency that's gonna lift everybody up in the house? Especially if you have little children. They don't need to hear and see that right now, because it can really stress them out. And so, like, for me, the TV I purchased finally after 35 years, literally, was intended for what I use it for. Is I'll put on beautiful music with the videos, and I'll have that throughout the house during the day while I'm doing whatever, because I'm working from home now. And I thought, well, that's nice, because I'm bringing in more beautiful energy into my environment. And so that's like 99% of the time, what's happening on my TV is just music and beautiful videos. So that's
Nice.
uplifting. And then I'll do educational. I'll do shows like this and other people's shows and podcasts and things that will bring something positive in. And it really has made a difference. And even for my two kids that are home, you can see, okay, yeah, it's a peaceful music, and their whole energy shifts to a better state. Not that they're in a bad state, but you can just see it kind of calms them, and it's just nicer that way.
Yeah,
So
I agree. I think, there are some things that I love about social media and some of these other platforms. And, we've all heard the negative things, of course. And, you know, just awareness, like how am I feeling when I spend a lot of time on social media? Or how am I feeling when I spend a lot of time on YouTube or any of those other channels, or, binge watching Netflix or whatever the thing is that you're doing a lot of? Like the first and foremost, in order to change the experience, is to have emotional awareness. Like, what am I feeling, and what could that be related to, either in my past or in response to whatever I'm looking at.
yes, and there's this connection I think that people are seeking right now because we have more restrictions. They're back in many places. And so we don't have the social connection that we did before all this universal pause pandemic showed up. And so with that, people are seeking connection in different ways. And so if you join a group, mastermind, mentorship, different call-in programs. I have a grief one that's free. That when anybody's lost a loved one, I lost my son a couple years ago, and so it's something I put together really in his honor and to help other moms and dads. I have mostly moms on there, but it's just to connect with like-minded friends, maybe going through something that's similar or loving something that's similar, that you're supporting each other in a community. And so being able to do that. Or if I do feel down, and that happens, obviously we're all human and we have these emotions that happen. I'll be like, okay, I'm going to go through my phone. Who do I feel I need to connect with?
Nice.
And I'll text, or I'll call, depending on the person. Certain people want to be called, some want text. And then I'll end up in a conversation with someone that really needed to talk to someone else.
Aww.
And it's almost like you could feel somewhere in my phone, somebody needs me because I feel it. And then we're all connected and we're laughing and talking and connecting, and it's beautiful. So whenever I feel down or whatever it is with all this craziness going on, I'll pick up the phone and connect. It makes a big difference.
Yeah. I mean, through the pandemic, people ask me all the time, they're like, well, what do is this like the most awful thing that happened? And I'm like, this is just another opportunity for us to go deeper, to gain consciousness about what's actually going on in this world.
Yes.
Connection, while it might not look the same, is still meaningful. I mean, I put on a virtual event for a board that I sat on last year, and the ladies that were in that community putting that event on, we've actually have our own nonprofit now, and we meet every other week, and we became friends over this thing and this unhappy board that we all sat on, and now we've created something even more meaningful to us, and friendship, and I would have never had that connection with them had we not had to be on Zoom every single week or twice a week,
Right.
And so it's possible. And I think that, most of my clients don't live where I live. I do Zoom meetings all the time, and they're just as meaningful to me because we just get right into it. We don't pretend like there's something in between. And, energy can be felt everywhere. We literally are that drop in the water and the ripples going out. It doesn't need to be in closeness that we feel connection.
Mm.
Connection, you can connect on all kinds of different things, a shared experience, a shared love of something, it's been really wonderful for me.
Yeah.
I just think that, it's all in how we decide we want to look at these things. Again, like, do I want to empower myself to have this experience, or do I want to let others help me have an experience that doesn't feel good?
Right, right. That's so true. Now, this morning, talking about distance, this morning I work with this group, the Reconnection and Reconnective Healing, and they do these healing sessions and this and that. And I did the training, and I can do the healing, whatever distance, whatever. And it doesn't heal physical. It's kind of like whatever's supposed to align in your life. And so, since I work with them, I'll have the people that started the company, I'll do like a reboot of that for me to kind of clear the energy and move forward. And that's what I did this morning. And I was like, oh, that was the best. And I was bragging to my daughters, oh, that feels so good. And this was so nice. And I just took that time to recharge. And it's a distance program that they do, and it's really beautiful. They do it in person when things are live, but they've always done the distance as well, not just because of the pandemic. And so there's something, even when they do these scientific studies, if you don't believe in all that metaphysical whatever, the scientific studies of like Dr. Emoto and how they would put love and different beautiful words on the water, and then even from a distance people would put the energy, and they could look at the molecules of the water have shifted based on the energy and the thought that's put into the air, into the field of whatever, and going out. And so
Well, I mean, they've talked about that with prayer groups too.
Yes.
Churches that will, sit vigil for people who are ill or whatever's going on in their lives, and they've proven scientifically that works as well. And it's not somebody that's right there; it's somebody that's in the hospital or in another state, or So yeah, I mean, if the experience that you're having is that you don't particularly care for this world and what's going on in it right now, the place to start is how do I feel inside? Like getting into the internal landscape and rooting around in there and figuring out what doesn't feel good, because we are literally projecting our experiences out to everybody all the time, all day long, because we can't do it any other way. That's just, we had experiences. This is how it's framed, how we see this world and what's available and possible.
Right.
And so that's what we think is possible. And, it takes sometimes a large act of things to get us to see a new experience. And then I go, oh, I didn't realize this was available. Mm-hmm. So just, I want to encourage people to just seek, keep looking. If things don't feel good, just keep looking. There's something there for you, and be open, and it will show up to help you, to guide you to where it is you need to go so that you can feel better.
Yes, definitely. Now, you mentioned church and religion and prayer, kind of that whole energy. And there's an interesting short story that happened to me regarding a church. So I have a big, beautiful building. I've invested over the years and teach about all that. But I have a building in Burbank, California, and it was rented to one of the major studios for 17 years. Mm-hmm. And they left because they built their own things and they didn't need me anymore. And it was vacant. It needed a lot of work because they were there 17 years. So it needed a lot of work and money put into it. And I literally moved into the building because I had traveled 7 years straight, moved into the building and lived in, there was like a little apartment kind of section, so that I could work around the clock. And I had a day shift and a night shift, and I painted and did things myself to get it rented because I'm losing money every month. Mm-hmm. And I could not find a tenant. And so what happened, I mean, like I had 3 people apply that were like, oh, no, it just didn't feel right. And they didn't have any business background and bad credit, all the stuff, no. And So I go to my car and I said, I'm just going to do a little prayer right now, and I'm going to just like surrender. And, it's almost Christmas time. And I don't, I need money for the kids, for the 6 kids and Christmas gifts, and I'm living in this building, and I called it my 12,000, it's 12,000 square feet. I called it my 12,000 square foot mansion. Had great acoustics, so I could sing. But other than that, the phone rang at that exact moment, at the end of that prayer. And it was a pastor of a church. And he said, okay, it was him and his agent on the line. They said, is the building still available? Because they had been kicked out of their church. They had been in that building for many years, and it was being torn down to build all this fancy stuff. And nobody wanted to rent to the church. And so, which is another interesting story. And I said, well, yes, come on over. And then I told him the story once he rented the building. They actually renovated it and ended up buying it from me. And so they put a lot into it, and we worked it out. But it was such a beautiful thing. He tells that story to all the people in the church about how it came about, because I couldn't even say no. I mean, I said the prayer and the phone rang, and it was a pastor of a church. I get chills right now. And I said, okay, I can't even question this. I don't even know, I'm not their religion exactly, whatever, but that particular denomination, but it doesn't matter. It was aligned, and I had to trust with that, and it was perfect, and it blessed everyone involved. But it was that surrendering, releasing. Like you said, we're not in control of everybody on the planet or everything. So that was a cool thing.
Yeah, that's a full circle moment, right? Because we were talking about originally trusting and letting go.
Yes,
it's somehow we were taught that if we overthink something or think it to death, then the solution is there. And it's when we stop. I don't know if people can recognize this. When we stop doing that, when we finally surrender to what is, the thing happens, whatever it is.
Right.
It's in that resistance. It's the resistance that elongates that not feeling good piece. And so if we can stop searching externally for things, for the solution, overthinking, doing all the things externally, and go inside and go, okay, I just got to trust and let go, and trust again and let go, and then trust again. And then, right? I mean, over and over and over until it's finally like, oh yeah, that's right. I don't need to think about this because the solution will present itself. That's not my domain. My domain, as far as I can see, is what do I want and why do I want it? The how is that going to happen? That's universe, God, whatever you believe in. That's their domain. And when I stop trying to mess in that domain, I feel better, and I can do the things that I want to do in mine, which is get intentional, get really clear on what it is that I want and why I want it and who that's going to affect if I get it. And then I just trust and let go.
Yes. And that takes learning to let go. I think over time, if we don't surrender to things, it gets more and more difficult until we do. And
you know what happens when you surrender?
Yeah.
Nothing actually happens like for you. I mean, the thing typically shows up, whatever it is you're looking for. But I think we catastrophize in our mind that, oh my God, the world's going to blow apart. And then, whatever the story that we made up about what's going to happen if we don't get or have the thing that we think we absolutely have to have or need. And nothing happens, actually, literally. And if we look back, everything works out, So it's why is it so hard to just let it go and just allow this life to be as it is, to be in it in this moment versus trying to dictate what the future looks like? Because again, not our domain.
In the world, but not of the world.
Yeah.
It was the end of the conversation today with my healing group. And it was like, yeah, that's exactly it. It's
Yes.
just okay. That is, it feels so right. And you said it right now, and it's like, okay, another reminder. So now I would love to hear how you found this whole healing process, and like when you were a little girl, what did you want to do when you grew up, and how did you get to what you're doing now?
Well, I mean, from not a super little girl, but like teenager, I wanted to be a singer. I thought that that was going to be the thing for me. Um, how I arrived in this place, so after that accident that I spoke about
Mhm.
earlier,
Yeah.
things started to like go in a direction that felt a little bit better. And a few years later, I found myself in a divorce, and that divorce just leveled me. I couldn't reconcile that I had spent all this money and time on self
Mhm.
development, and here I was, and I couldn't keep this marriage together. And I reached for a book. It's called A Course in Miracles.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you know this book, but has 365 passages, and it's meant to be a year-long journey, a passage a day for a year. And I'll say the first month it didn't move the needle at all. I was kind of like, this is interesting,
Yeah.
and I was really struggling. And then the second month, I had this very strange thing happen where every time I opened the book to the passage, I
Mm.
saw the word joy. It was like the path is joy. The answer
Mm.
is joy. Just kept seeing the word joy, joy, joy. Till 2 weeks into that, I finally literally was at the beach, and I like threw my hands in the air, and I was like, okay, I hear you. I have the answer. How do I get there? Like, I don't know what to do. I feel awful. I have some sort of answer, I suppose. I didn't really even know what joy meant back then.
Mm.
And then I got an email for a seminar that I bought sight unseen because I had followed this gentleman for some time. I'd met him through a different seminar company and seen him speak before. And I went, and it turns out it was a day-long seminar on a visualization process. And I came home so excited about it. And when I started using it, everything in my life lined up. My
Mm.
business that had been for sale for 9 months with zero bites went into bidding wars and went into escrow. I went and trained under him and started teaching his seminar, and got in front of my first group, and it was like a culmination of everything I'd ever learned, experienced, just like downloaded in that moment. And I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to help people find their joy and cultivate it daily so that they can have that as their predominant experience.
Wow.
And so that's how I came to, and then other books and mentors along the way over these last 4 years that really helped me shift some very fundamental things like, you aren't your thoughts, you aren't your emotions, you aren't that story that has been running the show all these years. And when you recognize that that's not who you are, those experiences that you had, and because of those experiences, you created thoughts and emotions, and that's where the healing is, then it's a whole different ballgame. Then it becomes like a movie with a cast of characters, and you get to have space in between what's happening and your experience of it. And that's what creates true freedom.
Wow.
That and present moment awareness.
Mm. That's so good. And how that unfolded as a little girl, you wanted to sing. You
Yeah.
wanted to use your voice
Mm,
to bring
mm.
beauty into the world. And it came about that you're still using your voice. It's a different song, maybe it's a speaking song, but it's still really kind of the same line of things.
I love that. Yeah,
That's kind of
I love
cool.
that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that, often, so there's a process that I teach to healing and growth.
Mhm.
And one of the things is when you get into that experience and it doesn't feel good, to sit in those emotions and feel them, and get into your body, as opposed to your head where you're overthinking all the things. like get into your body and go, oh, where does it, where does that, where do I feel that? Is it like my throat? Is it my heart? Is it my gut? And when you said that, I was like, oh, it was like the little girl. It's the throat, right? It was like the little girl finally has a voice and she can share those ideas that she has.
Yeah. I love that. Now we are coming to the end of our talking time. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about your programs and then how people can connect with you if they're interested in going further.
Wonderful. Yeah. So I do individual coaching, one-on-one. I also do couples, which is a new thing that I offered. I created a program just for couples because, when you learn the healing process, it's exponential when you can do that process together and stop escalating each other into your hurts. And then I do a course called Impenetrable Joy. It's a 4-hour online course. And you can find all the information on my website, which is ERIN, ERIN-MAC.com, amongst all kinds of other, media interviews and videos that I've posted and blog posts and other sorts of information. So there's plenty there. And for anybody listening, if you want to sign up for a free call, I help people. I always teach a strategy of some sort and help them figure out what would be next best steps.
Outstanding. All right. Thank you, ERIN, for being a guest on the show. And for those tuning in, we'll be. All right. If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mac Show right here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. And I have a special thank you shout out to my friends at Rico and the Man podcast. These days, everyone and their cat has a podcast about the entertainment industry. Am I right? But few shows have as much fun doing it as Rico and the Man with Rob Traegler and Peter Martino. New Jersey meets California in this bi-coastal hilarious show where two old college buddies take shots at all things entertainment. Rico and the Man is a laugh out loud look at Hollywood's past, present, and troubling future, with special guests, trivia, listener feedback, and comedy bits. This no-holds-barred podcast is the perfect distraction from your everyday troubles. With new episodes each week, Rob and Peter invite you to laugh along as they praise, pummel, and pick apart show business. Rico and the Man with Rob Traegler and Peter Martino is available everywhere you listen to podcasts. All right, thank you again, Rico and the Man podcast, for sponsoring NBC's Sheila Mac Show. If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mac Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and today I have a couple of announcements. First, I would like to hear from you. That's right. I would love to hear from you. To be honest, I want to know what your breakthrough is, what your reboot is. How are you reinventing and rebooting your life? What shows would you like to hear more of? What information do you need to help you get back on track this year? And to do that, the best way to connect with me is actually through my new YouTube channel, and that is Sheila Mac Show on YouTube. And there you can see past recordings, and you can also see other information and shares that I have. And I would love for you to share in the comments there what you're needing more of and what you're rebooting this year and how we can help you get back on track. Necessitated. You need a guide to show you how we get through a situation like this, to give you resources and to help you get out of the emotional pea soup fog of dealing with a crisis and the resulting fallout. I've been there, and I'm here to help you. Out of the fog. If you weren't emotionally bound up in your situation, you would have more clarity. You would be able to see your best options for dealing with whatever comes up.
If the version of yourself who has already walked through this rock bottom and come out the other end could go back in time and give you, the you right now, some advice, what would she say? Would she tell you to slow down, to stop rushing, that you don't have to have all the answers today? Would the future you recommend not making any major decisions without reviewing them first, particularly while you're still in the fog? Would she tell you that normal is going to look different for a while, but that you will feel normal again? In case we haven't invented time travel by the time you read this book, I'm here to tell you all of the above. I developed the Boots formula to help you learn to make choices, have a life shift, and make great things happen based on your individual values and best life vision. A change is going to happen, and it's worth it. There is a stage where it feels like everyone in your life is picking at you. Life itself may seem like it's trying its best to stop you from doing whatever you want to do. All you hear is, "That's a stupid idea," and "That's never going to work," and "Who do you think you are?" One of the hardest things for people to do is to realign and possibly walk away from anything and anyone that conflicts with their value systems. But you are going to discover that power within yourself. Through the activities and examples in this book, you will discover your true north and will be able to easily do what is needed to move forward with your life. Anything that hurts you, that doesn't resonate for you, that fights against what you want and believe in, you are going to give it the boot. Once you have turned your rock bottom moment into a positive, beautiful life shift, you can live your life on your terms. Your life will probably look different, but you get to design it this time. You are taking your life back, and you are in charge, not anybody else. Sooner than you can imagine, you'll be in the career of your dreams or the relationship you always wanted. Because you are going to learn to develop healthy boundaries. Because you are going to do things differently along the way from here to there. You will begin to attract the people, the job, the place to live, all of the opportunities that align with who you are, your essence, your truth, not anybody else's or even society's expectations of the way you're supposed to be. Once you have accepted that you are in charge of living your life and you begin to embody living your truth, people are going to see you. They're going to be inspired by you. Then you're going to hear, "Hey, can you show me how you did that? I want to do it too." When you assess your peer group and up-level according to your life purpose and vision, and once you have created a life shift for yourself, whatever that looks like, your life is not just full, it's fulfilled. Not only do you get more and better sleep, you wake up feeling rested and happy. You know that you're doing what you need to do. Yes, sometimes your heart will call you to leave certain friends or family members in order to find a more aligned peer group. From what I've seen, however, the ones who leave always return to lead their family and friends to success. Because your friends are more in alignment with your beliefs and value system, they support you while also pushing you toward your personal best. Life still involves work, but as a whole, it feels far more effortless. But you don't have to wait for the right person, right job, or right investment opportunity to show up. You can start living now so that every moment as you go forward through the process of recovering from rock bottom and redesigning your life is one more step to being the best version of you, the one who came.
All right, if you are looking to reinvent life on your terms, if you are grieving, experiencing financial turmoil, career shifts, relationship problems, parenting, elder care, victims of abuse, breaking free from an addiction, or seeking an overall business and lifestyle redesign, then you may need a reboot. It is not size fits all, just like a pair of boots or a bra. So The formula is designed to help you through any situation. If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mac Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and today I have a couple of announcements. First, I would like to hear from you. That's right. I would love to hear from you. To be honest, I want to know what your breakthrough is, what your reboot is. How are you reinventing and rebooting your life? What shows would you like to hear more of? What information do you need to help you get back on track this year? And to do that, the best way to connect with me is actually through my new YouTube channel, and that is Sheila Mac Show on YouTube. And there you can see past recordings, and you can also see other information and shares that I have. And I would love for you to share in the comments there what you're needing more of and what you're rebooting this year and how we can help you get back on track. Volume 2. Dear Sheila, I am feeling extremely betrayed and confused. I have been a faithful wife married to the same man for 12 years with no children yet. I went on a 2-week business trip with my coworkers and had trouble reaching my spouse. Upon returning, I was greeted at the airport with a peck on the cheek, and after continuously trying to become intimate with my husband, he seemed very distant. He finally told me that while I was traveling, he had a one-night stand in the mountains with some lady he met at a bar. My husband promised that it was over and that fling meant nothing. He just drank too much and things got out of hand. Later that month, I found out my husband was continuing to have a relationship with his one-night stand. After 12 years, should I give him another chance because we have been considering having children? Am I too untrusting? Am I too old to start looking for another relationship? Was this his first offense? Signed, Betrayed and Confused. Dear Betrayed and Confused, I think it's beautiful that you have so much integrity and love for your husband that you're willing to work things out, and that is honorable. However, the most important thing for you is also self-love. Put yourself in the equation and decide when you're willing to stay and when you need to go. You may need to do a relationship reboot or get with a couples therapist. Now, this requires 2 people. So you have to find out, is your guy willing to show up for you, or is he already out? That's a big question that needs to be answered, and that has nothing to do with you. A lot of times when situations like this happen, whether it's to the man or the woman, and there's somebody cheating, the situation is that the person that was cheated on feels like they did something wrong. And yes, there are 2 people in a relationship, but there also is the reality that sometimes it has very little to do with them. So you need to give the options to the other person. In this case, it's your husband, but then you need to decide if he's not willing to go through and get help. You need to decide to then get out of the relationship because that's best for you. As far as having a child, bringing a child into a relationship that's not really solid right now would be the worst thing to do to a child and very unfair. So the best thing to do is get yourself solid, love yourself through this, either get therapy or get out, and then you will find somebody, either rebuild your relationship and when you're solid, then have a child, or you'll find somebody else and at some point have a child in a solid relationship. And that would be my best advice on this. Thank you for listening to Dear Sheila. Size fits all, just like a pair of boots or a bra. So the formula is designed to help you through any situation.
to grab a copy of my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. It is now available on Audible as well as on Amazon and Kindle and at www.sheilamac.com.